All right. So thank you so much, Rohini, and thanks everyone for joining in. I hope that you got a very good understanding of where we stand and what are the various area that you can focus on in terms of learning, in terms of getting started. I think Rohini has mentioned some good amount of stuff which I can make myself busy for next 6 months because there are a lot of things that you can get started with, but it might be a little overwhelming in first place. But the idea is if you are getting started with AWS or in cloud first place, you may like to have an overall view, like 10,000 feet view of how this cloud thing work, and then you can focus on your focus area or your specialized area or the area that you really want to work on or you have been working on. Okay, so but before we get started with the next talk, I just want to answer a few of the questions that we got during Rohini's session. So I think Hari, you asked about security. So as Rohini mentioned, if if you notice, Rohini mentioned a couple of time about security, and that's what we also feel and work accordingly at AWS. So in AWS, or in Amazon for that matter, we do not ship any service unless and until we adhere to three basic criteria. One is the security, that is the utmost important thing to check before we actually ship the service and make it available for our customers. So we have compliance from various institutions, and that's why the services are being used by various sensitive industries like defense and government, etc. And second is we look into the scalability and high availability, like how scalable is the service is. It should not be like it can throttle beyond a point. All right, so we always take care of the scalability part and the availability. So it should be always available, right? So no business can afford to take any downtime for that matter, right? These are the three basic principles that we always follow before we make any service available to the customer. Okay, so that is a small note on the security side. And the other thing is, if you look at if you remember the slide that where Rohini shown all the services that we have. In fact, we have more than 200 services around, and thousands of features. So that means like each service have different features. And you might ask that why we have so many services or features. So the way that we work in AWS is how the team work is. We try to learn from customers and we try to adhere to your requirement, and then we build our product. Okay, it is very rare that engineers at AWS come up with something and we build it. Okay, although it is there, but it is most of the time, almost 90% of the time, is the requirement comes from the customer and then we start working on it. Okay, and that's why when you go to AWS console, you might see a lot of services, and few of the services you may not need, but some other customer might have asked for this, and that's why we have that service. And there would be a point where you might need that service or feature as well. So there's nothing to get overwhelmed with the amount of service or features that we have. You just have to pick the thing that you really want to work on. Okay, so it's just like it's made available for everyone, and people can take what they really want to. Okay, so I just have a couple of slides, so maybe two or three, and then we will move to the console to show some demo. So uh, what we are going to do in next 20 minutes or so is we'll just talk about AI with AWS. So yeah, I'm not very sure how many of you are coming from machine learning or AI background, but that doesn't matter. Okay, so what we are going to see is what are the services or the offerings. I think Hari, you also asked about what are the how you can use AI services with AWS or Siddharth, I guess. Yeah. So if you look at AWS or look at Amazon in general, we have various applications today in the world which are driven by machine learning. Whether you are a software developer or a solution architect, or you're not at all into IT, we all are using AI or machine learning directly or indirectly, right? So if you have seen Alexa, that is driven by machine learning or deep learning, to be very specific. Then the image that you see in the bottom left is our warehouse from where we ship our products. Like this is the warehouse of Amazon. So these all are completely automated with robots. So we also use AI and machine learning there. Then we have a store called Amazon Go, which is, I guess it's not there in all the cities in US, but we do have in few of the cities. There's a wonderful YouTube video. You can look into this, how this Amazon Go works. I can share the link after this presentation. But what that Amazon Go is, it's a completely automated shop. You just get in and you pick the item that you want and you just walk out. So automatically the Amazon will charge from your wallet, and there is no cash counter. There is no one who will monitor you physically. Everything is driven by computer vision. Okay, so there are lots of sensors, there are lots of cameras around you, and everything is automated. Okay, so these are a few of the applications that we have in machine learning, and these are just a few. We have plenty more, but the sense that we can get from here is, machine learning is almost everywhere, all right, and we all are using it in one form or the other. And the basic idea of AWS is, we really want to give you enough tools and techniques and services which can help any developer or any engineer to make use of all these services. Okay, so now when we talk about AWS, we have various services on machine learning, and the way that we have categorized it is in three layers. So you pick any of the machine learning talk in YouTube or anywhere you go, you will see this slide almost in every presentation, and that's because we just want to show you where we stand on machine learning. And you can also put yourself in one of these stack in today's time, and maybe you can work on something else going forward. So we have categorized this into three layers, and this is the bottommost layer, and we call it as a machine learning framework and infrastructure. So this layer is for the engineers or for the folks who are very much into machine learning. So that means people who are doing research, who are doing their PhDs, or who are completely into machine learning. So they just want to make use of the infrastructure that is needed for run their models. Okay, so we support various machine learning frameworks like TensorFlow, PyTorch, MXNet, etc. And we give you the flexibility to pick any virtual machines or containers where you can run your own model and design your own model. Okay, so this is for, you can think of people who just want the infrastructure, who really don't want to have any managed services on top of it. Okay, so this is the layer where people will work on. Then we have the middle layer, which is SageMaker, and this is the layer where most of the people might work, and you might see most of the data scientists or machine learning practitioner would spend time on. So this is the layer where uh, you know you will be given with lots of built-in tools and algorithms, and you can make use of it to build your model. Okay, so SageMaker is, although we call it SageMaker as one service, but it's a collection of various services. Like one of them we will see today is a SageMaker notebook, but the idea is you can train and deploy your model via SageMaker. Okay, so if you are new to machine learning, what a model is basically, if I have to explain you, let's say, let me use my pen. Okay, so let's say you have some image, okay, and you want to know that this image contains, what are the entities. Like this image contains a human being, or this image contains a picture of a cat, or what it contains, right? So if you have to, this is the problem, that if I give you that, okay, write a program which can identify objects in this image. So if you're from a software development background, it might be very daunting to do that, right? You cannot write a static code to identify object in this image. So this is where machine learning comes in. So where you cannot just write a static code or rule like if else condition, where you can just parse your image and which can give you the response that the image contains a human being or cat or dog, whatever, right? So this is where the machine learning comes in. So what machine learning does is basically we ask for many such images, lots of images, like thousands of millions of images, right? And then we try to look into all these images and try to find the basic pattern of all these images, okay? And we try to come up with something called some function called fx, okay, where x is actually one of these images, okay? So the idea of machine learning is just to find this function fx, okay? This is the whole idea of machine learning, where once this model is trained, so this is the model, okay, this function, once you got this fx function, this is the model, okay? And once this model is ready, then you can ask someone, okay, now you give me a new image, so now I will give you a new image, okay, and you will return me that this image contains a dog or or a human being or whatever, right? And if this image contains something which it has never seen in this training data set, then it may not be able to give you right prediction because it has never seen that, right? So this is the whole idea of machine learning, where you give some input x, you develop or train a model fx, and you give some output y, okay? So this is the relationship between the input and the output and the model. This is the model, okay? This is the model that we have. All right, so let me erase this. One second. Yeah, so this is the whole idea of machine learning. And while we do this training and deployment of the model, everything we can do in SageMaker. Okay, so so this is the part like model training. This is where you can give all the images or all the input data and come up with that fx function which we have just discussed. And a lot of time, you may not come up with the right model. In that case, you have to keep on experimenting with different algorithms. So one thing that I have not mentioned is how you can build that fx function. So that fx function can be built using different algorithms that we have. And obviously you cannot come up with a right algorithm first place. So you have to think about different algorithms. Maybe in future meetup, we will dive deep into one of these areas, one of the algorithms. Okay, so in SageMaker, you can do all of that, right? And finally, you can deploy your model where you can do some prediction. So now that you have trained your model and you want people to give you new data sets so that you can do the prediction. Okay, so this is where SageMaker comes in. And the topmost layer is the AI service, where we will be spending a little bit of time today. Is the set of services where we don't expect any machine learning or data science experience or machine learning expertise from the user. So let's say you are a software developer or an engineer, and you don't know how this model or how this training, how this algorithm work and all of that, right? You might be a Java developer or a Python developer or a C++ developer, whoever you are. You just want to make use of machine learning capability or AI capability in your application, right? So let me give you an example. Let's say you are trying to book a hotel in Nepal or in India for your vacation. You might go to some site, right? Like hotels in Nepal or booking.com. In India, we have Make My Trip, yatra.com, all these websites, right? So let's say you are the owner of a company like this, and you want your developer to give some instructions that okay, in our website, you need to have a feature where user can upload their images of their stay, like images of their hotel rooms and the lounge and other areas. So this is very common, right? When we go and book our hotel, we check the customer images that customers have put in, right? So but at the same time, as an architect or as a software developer, you also want that people should not upload any wrong image, right, or unethical image or any censored image, right? So how you can do that? So there are two ways that you can think about this problem. uh, One thing is to segregate an image contains something unethical or vulgar with respect to the image that you want, you need to use machine learning, right? So one way to do this is you hire some engineer who can build the whole model, train the model so that you can enable that feature in your application, or you can use one of these AI services, right? So we have a service called Rekognition, which can help you to counter this problem. So since you are running that company like yatra.com or makemytrip.com, your sole idea or the whole purpose of your business is hotel bookings, right? So your whole idea is not to build that model or train that a model to the best possible way, right? So you will come and you will search for services which can help you to do that, right? So what Amazon Rekognition does is it's an API based service. That means all the services that you see in the top layer are all API based. So what I mean by API based is you just have to send a request to a API and it will give you a response. So you don't have to build that FX function here. You don't have to train that model here. All you have to do is send an image to the API that we have for Rekognition, and Rekognition will respond you back with the item that it can see in your object or in your image, right? So this is just one example. Rekognition can do a lot more things, which we will see in the next slide. But the idea of AI-based services is that you don't have to be a machine learning expert or engineer. All you have to do is send an API request and get the response. Okay, that's all. So this is what the Rekognition service is. So let's say you send an image and you want to see what are the things that image contains. It can give you the all the object names, like this image contains a person, it's outdoor, and you see a number under every tag. So this number is actually the confidence percentage, because machine learning is always about prediction, right? How much the model has predicted. So whenever someone tells you something with some prediction, the next question that you always ask is how confident you are, or what is the probability that you are confident that this prediction is correct. So this is that number. Okay, so you might see 99 percentage confidence, or you might see 50% confidence, etc. So your application can take some decision based on this percentage number, right? So it might so happen that in this image, the Rekognition might find a cat with a percentage of 5%, right? Confidence percent of 5%. So you may like to ignore that, right? So you can write a if else condition, and you can just discard that, right? And take some next action. And all that we see here in this image, we get this response in a JSON. Okay, so just like any RESTful API, we get the response in JSON. Or there are various other ways that you can get the response as well, but JSON is most predominantly used. Okay, and you can also do some other task, like if you have given a image, it can read the text from that image. Okay, we will see that in the demo. So this is very much useful in let's say parking slots, or maybe airport, where you just want to capture the number plate or the number of car number or vehicle number in your database, right? You don't want any physical person to sit and open the gate for you to enter, and they write your car number. So this can be done completely automatically by a camera and a Rekognition, right? So it can read your text from any image. Okay, and also it can do some facial recognition. The person is smiling, or is happy, or whatever, right? So this is something that again, it's just same as what we have seen before. So it can identify objects in an image, and it will give you a response in JSON. This snapshot is taken from the AWS console, but you can do it through command line, so which we will see in a minute. Okay, so yeah, this also we have seen. Next is Poly. So this is another AI service which can help you to convert your speech into text. So you have to your text into speech. So let's say you have written a text like this: the temperature in Kolkata is 29 degrees centigrade. So if you see, we have used the degree symbol, right? And but when it converts it into into a speech, it actually deciphers that to 29 degree Celsius, right? So all these intelligence are inbuilt into a Poly, and we have lots of language support, and every month or every quarter we keep on adding new languages in terms of support. So you can always check the language that you are looking for, but predominantly it has the support for all the major languages that we use globally. And Comprehend is one of the my favorite service, where you can given a text, it can extract information out of it, right? So Comprehend can be used at various business. One of them is sentiment analysis, like let's say for this meetup, you all will be giving your feedback, right? And now let's say if I have to uh, you know f- if I have to ask Dilly that, okay, what is how positive or how negative is the sentiment or the feedback that we got from the audience. So one way that we can do it is we can read all these comments one by one, but it might take a lot of time, right? So what we can do is we can use Comprehend, and what I can do is if let's say 50 people have joined today, I can parse that, send that 50 comments to Comprehend, and Comprehend can give me the sentiment, that whether it's positive or negative or neutral. Okay, and based on that, I can take some action for the next meetup. All right, so this is the whole idea of sentiment analysis in Comprehend. So sentiment analysis is one of the thing in Comprehend, but we have many other things, like it can identify the key entities. Like in this statement, we have Amazon.com, so it has categorized it as an organization. I have not mentioned that it's an organization in this text, but it has automatically categorized that as an organization. Similarly, it can pick up some key phrases like books, a great price, etc., right? So this is the whole idea of Comprehend. So let's check some demo. Okay, so okay, so this is the management console. If you are new to AWS, and this would be the first splash screen that you will see once you log in. Okay, so few of you might have the account, and few of you might get started with the new account after today. So this would be the first screen that you will come into. So we have, as I was telling you, a couple of minutes back, that we have lots of services, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed. But all these services are based on some use case that our customer wanted, right? So that's how we build all these services. And if you pick, the nice thing about this dashboard is we have categorized the services into different, segments. So this is what we have for machine learning, and here most of the services are comes under AI services, like the third layer, which we have just seen in this presentation. If I just go back in this, all these services are mostly into this top layer. Okay, uh, so you can see this all these AI based services, and also you see the SageMaker, which is the middle layer, and it contains a lot of things. So let me first show you how these services works actually, okay, from the end user perspective. So I will not go to all these services one by one, but what I will show you first is how these can be used in a real world application. So this is one of the website which one of our teammate Nick and Nikki has developed last year. So this is a Node.js application, okay, JavaScript application, and where we have used just RESTful API at the back end for all these services. Okay, and we have not trained any model, nothing. Okay, and we will see that what is the code behind this in a moment. But I just want to give you an intuition of how this all thing work. Okay, so let's start with translate. Okay, so let me click on try translate. So as the name suggests, translate can translate your text into a different language. So let's say I write something. Thanks for the wonderful session, Rohini. Okay, so now I'm selecting input language as auto detect, so it can automatically detect that this is an English language. The language is English, and let's say I want to convert it into, let's say, Hindi. Okay, so as you see, we have many language support, and as and when we go over the period of time, we keep on adding new languages. So let's say if I click on translate this text. So the moment I click on this, an API will go to translate, okay, and it will get the response in JSON, and that response will come under here in the result. Okay, so if you can see here, it has converted it into Hindi. Okay, so it is as simple as that. So as a developer, let's say you in your organization, you have a lot of Java developer or a Python developer who are working into the front end and the back end and the application. They don't have to, be a machine learning engineer. All they have to do is, just want to use how they just want to know how to use this RESTful APIs. Okay. So now let's say I take another example. Let's say comprehend. Okay, so let's say I type something. Thanks everyone for joining. And then I click on analyze this text with comprehend. So now if you see this text, it says that it is 99% confident that it is a positive text, or this message contains a positive information, right? But let's say if I type something like this, uh, I am not that happy today. And now if you see the negative sentiment percentage has gone up to almost 96%. So like this, let's say you give me some feedback, and if I put that feedback here, I would know that without even reading your text, I would know the sentiment of your of your comment, right? So this is just sentiment, but there are various other things which we will see in the code maybe next. But this is the idea of how you can use this API based services into your application. Like in this case, the application is a simple Node.js application, but it might be like yatra.com or something like that, right? I would highly encourage you to use this recognition, right? Because it needs camera. So you can try recognition, and you can take some image, or you can switch on your camera, and you can click on detect labels, and it will tell you what that image contains. Maybe if you are in front of the camera, it will likely to say it will be a person, and etc, etc. Okay, and whatever the visible behind you. It's a fantastic way to learn how recognition works. Okay, so now let's look into something else. Okay, so now let's say we go to SageMaker, and now we are going to see the code, what makes this application work. Okay, how we can write a simple API call. So I'll be using Python, but a language doesn't matter. If you're new to Python, doesn't matter, because it's first is Python is super simple, and second is you can just think about the language that you are comfortable with. Okay, so let's say I come to SageMaker. So if you see in SageMaker in left hand side, these are the various features that we have. That's why I mentioned that SageMaker, although it's just one service, but it has lots of features or sub services within. So we are going to open a notebook. So notebook is nothing but, if you are into data science, or if you are using Python in your day-to-day work, a notebook is nothing but an instance which already have your Python installed. It already has various modules installed and framework installed. So if you use your laptop to run a notebook instance, you will just have Python 2 or Python 3, right? But in SageMaker, once you open a notebook, like how you create a notebook is, let me show you this. You just have to give some name, let's say demo, and you can mention what type of instance or virtual machine, or rather actually this is a container, but what on which instance type you want to create this instance or the container, you can select. Okay, and this is how the naming convention is. All right, so Rohini mentioned to create an EC2 instance which is of T2 micro, right? So similarly, these are all our machine learning related instances. That's why it starts with ML, right? So you can pick any of these. So let's say I pick T2.medium, and you can put everything as default, and then you just click on create notebook. Okay, so now once this is you clicked on create notebook, it will take some time to create that. So what is happening in the backend is it is trying to create a small container with all the modules built in. Okay, and once this is done, it will come into this state in service, and you can open it. So let's say I click on this and I open in Jupyter. Okay, so now this is running on the cloud. It is not running on my local laptop. All right. So now, although I have lots of folder, but when you first create, you will not see any of these folders here, right? And now if you click on this new, you will see all these frameworks. So if you have ever used Jupyter Notebook in your laptop, you would likely to see only Python 2 or Python 3, right? But all these frameworks, which are like TensorFlow, MXNet, PyTorch, these all are machine learning framework, and this all comes built in SageMaker Notebook. So this is the beauty of it. So what we are going to do today is show you some demo on these AI-based services. Okay, how you can do this in simple line of code. Okay, so let's start with recognition. So you don't have to look into all this code, okay? And if you want, you can play around with this at later point in time. But I just want you to focus on the line that I will highlight. Okay. So first thing is in Python, everything is is very much modular, right? And to access any of the AWS based resource, if you remember, Rohini mentioned that we have a lot of SDKs, like software development kit. So for different languages, we have different SDKs. For Python, we have something called Boto 3. So Boto 3 is the SDK which you can use to access the resource in AWS. Okay, so we are just importing that, and rest all of these are general Python modules. Don't have to look into all of this. Okay, so now the first thing that we want to do in recognition is we need to let's say the idea is we need to identify faces in an image. So this is the problem statement that we have. Okay, your application will give me some image, and I need to identify if that image contains any face, human face or not. Okay, so how we can do that? So first, you just have to define. This is a wrapper function which I've just created, but basically you just have to focus on a couple of lines of code. So if you see the line number 3, we have created a client object. Okay, how we are creating this? We have imported Boto 3, and we say Boto3.client and the service name. So the service that we are looking for is recognition. That's why it is recognition. Let's say if it is comprehend, then it will be comprehend, right? You just have to change it here. That's all. And next thing is we have to download that image, right? So I have stored that image in S3. So S3 is our object-based service. So if you are new to S3, you can just think about a place where you can just dump your files. It can be of any format, right? And you can just read that file from there. So you can think of it as just a place on the internet where you can put your data, which only you have the access. Okay, nobody else. So I'm going to download that image from S3. That's why I'm creating another resource from Boto 3 for S3. Okay, so there are two ways that you can call a resource. One is client and another is resource. So one is at the higher level API and another is a deeper level API. You can always say boto3.client S3. So but there are different functional difference between client and resources. Okay, if you are interested, you can check the API documentation for Boto 3. All right, and then what we are doing is we are just telling the bucket and the photo. So bucket is nothing but the placeholder where my image is. So you can think of it it's an analogy to folder, right? So but it's not a folder because S3 is a single namespace system, but for the understanding, first place, if you're new to S3, you can think of bucket as a folder, and whatever you have inside that folder, you can think of it as the object or the key. Okay, so I have divided, I have save that image in one of the buckets. So I will just pass that bucket name and the actual image name, that is the file name. So these are the two things which I'm taking from the user, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm just simply calling get that image. That's all. Okay, and then I'm just reading that image using the image model of Python. So this is a very straightforward thing. And the most important thing in this line of code is line number 14. Okay, this is where I am just calling the detect face API. Okay, so if you remember, this client is an object for recognition, right? And I'm calling this detect faces method, which is there inside this client object. Okay, so now I'm saying what this line of code is doing is I'm saying, okay, uh, go to recognition and detect the faces in this image. And where is that image? I'm giving the whole path of that image, and the path here is nothing but the S3 location. That's all. And I'm saying that give me all the attributes, because this response will be always JSON, right? And the response would be very overwhelming. Like it contains a lot of information about this image, right? And what I'm saying is give me all. I will write my own code later on to filter that whatever I need. Okay, so the best way if you want to explore this is always try to run with attribute all and just print this response, and you will know that what are the things that it comes up with, right? And then you can write some for loop like this I have written here. um, so from here I just want the face details, and I have just printing it out on the console. Okay, so that's all that you need to know. So there is only 3 lines of code. One is you create an object for recognition, and you create an object for S3 to get the image, and then you just call the detect object, detect face. That's all. Okay, so now let's run this code and see what we uh, what we what we get from. Let me just zoom out a bit so that you can see that it's actually getting executed. So now this function we have defined. Now we will be calling this function, right? And for that, first so if you see, this function needs a photo and the bucket name, right? So basically we have to first get these two details. So this is my bucket name. This is my S3 bucket. And if you want to see what are the objects that we have in S3, is I can use this AWS CLI. So I started this command using Shebang. So this is actually converting this into a bash command. So I'm saying AWS S3 list all the objects which is there inside this bucket. So in place of this curly braces and bucket, I can simply put this whole bucket name, and it says that these are the objects that you have inside this bucket. So let's say I want to pick this image, photo 3. Okay, and I just create a variable called photo. So now I have two variables, one is photo and one is bucket, right? So now I can call this function show faces, and let's see what it detects. Okay, so this image contains 5 faces, and you see a small bounding box around the faces, right? And this is the code that we have written to make those bounding box. It has nothing to do with the recognition. It has nothing to do with AWS. This is something that you did based on the response that you got from recognition. And as I mentioned, recognition will give you lots of details about your image, right? And one of those details is the coordinates of the image face that you see. So it will exactly tell you how many faces that the image contains. Not only that, it will also tell you at which coordinate or which pixel that face is there in that image. And you can use those coordinates, like for this left hand side face of this lady, it will give you all these 4 coordinates, and you can just draw a bounding box in any color, and you can annotate that and use it in your application, right? So let's say I change some other image. So let's say this is the another image which a user have uploaded into your website, right? So now when you run it, it will say that, okay, I have detected only one image and I see only this face. Okay, and if you see, it also detected, it also tells you that what is the age group that particular person belongs to. Okay, so this is the beauty of recognition. Now let's see another service called Translate, which we have seen in the demo. And here it's the same thing. I'm using client, and now the name is Translate. So you can give this as a service name explicitly, or you can just remove it. It doesn't matter. Okay, and that's all. And then since it's a translate service, that means you will be giving some text, right? So we will be taking that text from the user and the source language and the target language, right? So we do support auto detection of the source language, so you don't have to mention this source language parameter, but if you do so, I mean, there is no harm. And that's all. And then you can just print the converted text. Here I have written a small hash, which is basically the way that Boto 3 works is, or the API is written, is this is as per the RFP standard, right? When anyone wants to convert it from English to Hindi, they just have to mention EN, not English. Okay, so this is just a lookup table that I have created. It's nothing fancy here. So let's say we run this, and let's say this is my text. Okay, and this is the source language English, and the target language is Hindi, and I'm just looking into this hash so that I know that English is EN and Hindi is HI, right? And then I'm calling this function translate my text. That's all. So let me run this, and if you see, it has converted into Hindi. So I have not written any model, I have not trained any model. All I have done is I'm using the API of translate. Okay, and this is the only one line of code that is doing all this magic. All right, so now next is comprehend. Again, it would be like a little repetitive now but the idea is again the same. You call Boto 3 and client, and you now give comprehend, and now you want to detect sentiment, right? So you get the response from comprehend, and then you call detect sentiment function, right? And you pass that data or the text that you have. That's all. So now let's say I run this, and I just call this function. So the text that we have given is due to COVID. Actually, this would be many, but that doesn't matter. It says that this is a negative sentiment statement, right? Because this is actually a negative statement, right? So it can easily predict that what is the sentiment of this, and it can also predict how confident that sentiment is, right? So you can always use this whenever you want to analyze any text in terms of sentiment or any of the categorical features, right? And in fact, in this last reInvent, so reInvent is our technical conference which we have every year. We have announced one support for comprehend in our database. So now let's say you have stored a lot of information about your customers in the database, and in that database you might have a column of customer feedback or something like that, right? And you want to analyze the sentiment of that. So now what you can do, you don't have to actually read each and every line of your database entry and call sentiment. You can actually write that into the SQL query itself. So you can actually query that, okay, this is my database, and I want to get the sentiment of this particular column, and it will give you the whether each and every line of the customer feedback is of negative sentiment, positive sentiment, or neutral sentiment. Okay, so we can have this demo maybe sometime later, but this is also integrated in the database, right? So, and if you are a DBA, you can simply run an SQL query and leverage AI intelligence from your database. Okay, and similarly, let's try to have another feature of comprehend called detect entities, right? So let's say this is my text. Rohini works for Amazon, and we are glad to talk to you everyone in Nepal today. So let's say if I run this, you see this, there's a reason that I've put all this like Nepal, Today, Rohini, and Amazon, right? Because if you see now the output, it has detected a lot of entities. Like Rohini is a person, right? And it is 99% confident that it, she is a person. Uh, Amazon is an organization. It has categorized Amazon as an organization. Nepal is a location, and today it has already it has automatically understood that it's a date, and not only that, it has converted that into a date object, and you know that this is the date today. Okay, it's 20th June, 4:40 GMT, right? So you can take all this information and use it in your application in the next in the pipeline of your development framework, right? So this is the few of the features that you can leverage from AWS, which we have in AI, right? So last thing that I thought to show you today is text detection. So this is what, when you send an image, it can detect the text in that image, right? So what we are going to do is we will again take a photo and the bucket name, and we will call recognition. And now previously, if you go up, we used uh, detect faces, right? This is the function that we have used for recognition. But now we are going to use detect text. Same client, I'm creating a recognition client, and I'm calling detect text. That's all. And again, these are just auxiliary code. What I'm doing is I'm just taking that, reading the response and printing it in a nice fashion. That's all. So I'm just running this, and this is an image that I have. I will show you. Let's say we will see what this image contains next, but let's see whether it's able to detect any text or not. So let's see this. So if you see, it says that this particular text, so from the file name you can identify that this might be an image of an X-ray. So it has detected few of the text, right? So it has detected some text like chest, then it has detected a text like SEIM. These are the small text that it has identified, right? This is the whole text. This whole thing is a text. Okay, and then this is the text name. All of these it has detected. So now let's see if this what this image contains actually. So let's see, I want to see this image. So this image is there in this bucket, AI my-AI bucket Suman. So how we can see that here? So for that, we can simply use AWS CLI. So let me increase the font if you can. So let's say AWS S3. I will just copy it in the present working directory. So what I will do is I will just call this bucket, and I have to specify this photo object, and I want to copy it in my present directory. So now it got downloaded, right? This is the image. So now how I can see this in this notebook, I can do something. This is nothing, specific to AWS. It's just a simple uh, Python thing. So, okay, I'm just importing this, and then maybe I will just say image, and this is the file name. And the file name would be this one. Okay, so if you see this, this is actually an image of an X-ray, right? And if you see above, if you see this, it has actually detected something called text chest, right? And we can see this chest here, right? And it has also detected, what else? It has detected SE2 2-3-2, right? And this whole date. So if you see this, this second line in this image, SE3-2 2018 object October 23, something like that. So this is the whole idea, right? And why I have picked this image is because you might want to uh, you know uh, use this service for your application in such a way that, let's say in this image you want to hide the name of the patient, right? Because this is a sensitive information, right? In terms of medical records, this is sensitive information, like the name of the person, date of birth, and all of this. This is a personal information. So let's say you want to hide all of these. So what you can do with, you can first use recognition to identify the text from this image, and then what you can do is you can simply put a blur on top of this image, right? On top of this text. And how you can do that? As recognition gives you the coordinates where it can see this text, you can just use those coordinates, just like how we have used this to make this bounding box. If you remember, if you have used this bounding box, okay, sorry. Oh, okay, I have not executed this. Sorry. So just like I have used this coordinate to create that bounding box, similarly, you can use those coordinates which can hide this whole text, right? So this is the whole idea of recognition and how you can use these services for your application. All right. So uh, that's all that I have for today. And what you can do is, for you to get started, as Rohini mentioned, we have a website called ml.aws, and that's quite an exhaustive website. And in fact, there is a university called ML University, which was only there for employees, but now it is completely open for everyone and it's completely free. You can always go over there and take the free trainings that they have. So it's very exhaustive, so you can pick the area that you are interested in. And you can also play around with a few of these hardwares that we have for learning purpose, although these are not available in in India and Nepal at this point, if you want to purchase them. But you can always explore this. Few of these you can do it without this hardware as well, right? So this is little advanced thing if you want to get started with. Okay, so that's all that I have, and just stay connected. If you have anything related to AI, ML, or any of those services that you are interested in, feel free to reach out to Rohini or me. We will be able to help you to some extent that we could. Okay, and before we end up, I want you to scan this code. You might win some credits. So maybe what I will do is I will share this link as well in the chat, so that give me a moment. Okay, this is the link. Feel free to click on this. I guess you will be you might get a credit code. If you don't have any account, that's fine. You just save that code. We will see that how you can use it in later point in time. But do scan this, right? All right then. Thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We will get back to you as soon as possible, and we will look forward for many more events from now on. And we will and one of the things that I actually missed is, as Rohini touched upon this in the beginning, uh, meetup is all about community, right? It's not about us. What we really want is you should come and talk here and share your experience. And it's not like you have to become a professional so that you can, then only you can come and talk. It's not at all like that. Let's say you learned something today, you played around with this for next couple of weeks and all that. Okay, now third week you can just come here and share your experience, because your experience would help many others, and they can learn from you, and they may not be repeating those mistakes that you might have committed. So the idea is is to leverage this platform so that you can socialize, you can network with people, and also share your knowledge and learn from everyone around, right? So we would love to see you and talk in this meetup with everyone, right? And we will try to help you from every possible way that we could, in the days to come, right? So with that, I will hand it over to Dili. uh, Thank you so much.